Okay, guys, we are live. Last time we did this, I had something wrong with the microphone where it was way too loud. I have no idea why people weren't screaming at me in the live chat telling me to fix it, but hopefully we're good now. Hopefully, if it's either too loud, too quiet, someone decides to let me know. And also, hopefully, this live draft is very similar to the last one that we had, in that the last one, we had like 50 people in the live stream hopping in these mock drafts like 5 minutes after we were live. And I know that sounds crazy. That sounds like I am just making it up. But no, I mean, if you were able to come out, you saw how crazy it was. And the reason for that is because lately, notification gang has been growing so much on this channel. And y'all know I try to do as many things as I can for notification gang, where if you are subscribed to the channel, if you have that notification bell hit next to it, we go through and every video we upload, I actually do it as a premiere where there's a live chat as we go through and stream. That way I can go and answer your questions in the live chat as we all watch the video together. I think it's a ton of fun and we are going to continue to do that. But anyway, let me pull up this live chat really quick to make sure that the microphone is all good. Okay, guys, please let me know if the mic is good. Also, we have so many likes on the video already. So thank you so much, everybody, for going down there and dropping a like on the video. Let me send out an announcement in Discord that we are live. Let me go through and grab the link for Patreon for anybody wanting to hop in these mock drafts. And I'll say at the end of the live stream, we will do mock drafts with people not just on Patreon. I'll make sure we get some people from the general chat in there as well. But the first few, I want to make sure that it is just exclusively Patreon members, because the people on Patreon are the ones that are truly supporting the channel. They're letting me just create this brand where I can work 8-10 hours a day on the Fantasy Flock Network, and I don't have to feel too bad about it because we have people supporting on Patreon. Okay, so let me send out this link real quick. And also for everybody supporting the channel on Patreon, let me give y'all an update. Our rookie rankings should be out, I want to say 2 or 3 days from now. I've been waiting to publish these just to make sure that we've had adequate time to go through and dive into this rookie class player by player. And I think we are feeling comfortable enough where I can put out those Superflex and those one quarterback rankings for anybody wanting to look at them. And those are going to be continuously updated throughout the course of the offseason, because we know we have pro days. Pro days are definitely going to be changing things when we get official height and weight measurements as well as official combine numbers. So once we have those, the rankings will change, but the initial rankings should be up this weekend on Patreon for everybody. Okay, so let me send this Patreon link out for anybody wanting to hop in these mock drafts right away. Okay, perfect. That is sent out. I am assuming that we have a decent amount of people who have already DM'd us on Patreon. So let me run over there and get these links out. And also, if you're watching this as a video later on, please, guys, understand that we are going to get to the mock drafts very, very soon. I'm not just going to sit here and ramble forever. I promise you that. Okay, so that link is copied. Jane, I'm getting that to you. Victor, I'm getting it to you. Daniel, I got you. Okay, perfect. And let's see if we have any other DMs. Let me see if we have any questions in the general chat real quick while we wait for people to DM us on Patreon. Okay, so we do have a question. This is coming out from Dwak Walker. And this question here is 10-team Superflex full PPR, 6 point per passing touchdown. I got the 102 and I was offered the 104 and the 201 to move back. Good trade, or can I wait for more with the 102? Appreciate the content. No, man, thank you so much. And I'll say there are a couple things playing into here. One, we know that in a 10-team league, pretty much everything that you're going to be trying to do is you're going to be trying to go best player available, best player available. I want the best player in the deal. I really don't care about depth, but at the same time, the 201 in a 10-team league is equivalent to, I think, the 111? Is it the 110? 111, whatever that is, in a regular 12-team format. So they're kind of washing out the difference between prioritizing the top-end talent because that pick is moving up slightly. So I'll say at the 102, here you're going to probably be looking at Najee Harris, especially in a 10-team league, even if it is 6 point per passing touchdown. We know a 10-team Superflex league, the demand is not there for the quarterbacks like it is for a 12-team league. So I think that what we are actually going to look to do is we would look to trade back, go get the 104 and the 201, because the 104, I think you should be able to pull off Travis Etienne. And the gap between Najee Harris and Travis Etienne for myself is not going to be nearly as large as it is in other spots. Okay, so Joe getting you out the link, JJ getting you the link real quick. And also I'll say on Patreon, not only are we going to have my rookie rankings, but we are also going to end up having ADP there. We already have startup ADP, but we're going to have rookie ADP as well. But the ADP is not only going to be for people supporting the show on Patreon, it's going to be for everyone. I'm not going to put it behind the paywall. On Patreon, I can upload things as only people supporting the show and people that just have the link and want to view it, that ADP list, because everybody is contributing it from Notification Gang that comes in here and hangs out during these mock drafts. That's going to be completely free for everybody, and that's how it is always going to be. All right. So let me send out this link to Jake real quick because I owe Jake a massive thank you. Jake is the guy who's actually tracking all this ADP data for us. He is doing extremely fun things with it, as well as going through and looking at players that are falling, looking at players that are rising. So I owe him a massive thank you, and I need to get him that link. Okay, so now let's see if we have any more DMs on Patreon. Okay, perfect, perfect. Here, just to get this going, just to get this started really fast, let me switch over to the draft board, and I will send this link out in the live chat for anybody wanting to join. Okay, Harrison Rich asking, when will the original Flocker Patreon option be back open? The original Flocker Patreon open spot right now, I am only opening it for people who are willing to take orphan teams on Discord. We have about 10 teams left that are available in Flock leagues, and if you want to hop in a Patreon Flock league and you don't mind taking over an orphan team to help everybody out, then I promise you I would be more than willing to open up an OG Flock spot for you. Outside of that, I don't know if we are really ever going to open up any more original Flock spots. Okay, so let's get this draft going, and this first draft is going to be a SUPERFLEX draft. We will be doing one quarterback drafts later on here, but SUPERFLEX is more fun. SUPERFLEX, there's more strategy. That's what I prefer. So, of course, that's what we are going to be doing first, and I don't really feel the need to apologize about it, but you have the extremely standard start here, seeing Trevor Lawrence go off at the 101. You have Najee Harris at the 102. That's what you're going to be seeing in 99% of these mock drafts, pretty much 99% of your real Dynasty rookie drafts at the same time. If they're SUPERFLEX, of course, if it's a one quarterback league, then you're going to see Trevor Lawrence falling down to the 110 range. But JN here is on the clock. This is where it gets a little bit interesting. Once you have Trevor Lawrence, Najee Harris going off the board, then you have to think about it. But Travis Etienne goes off the 103. Cannot blame anyone for wanting to take Travis Etienne there. I think Etienne is a clear tier ahead of the next running back in Javonte Williams. So now the question is, are we going to be taking Justin Fields, or are we going to be taking Zach Wilson, Trey Lance? Obviously, it's going to be one of these quarterbacks. You cannot go with the Jamar Chase or Devontae Smith, regardless of how nice their prospect profiles are, over a quarterback that's going to be going in the top 10 in the NFL draft, especially one like Justin Fields, who we are going to take here, that has the rushing upside at the same time to be an impact player right away, year one. I mean, we see this time and time again, that those rushing quarterbacks like a Lamar Jackson, like a Jalen Hurts, like a Trey Lance and Justin Fields, they're going to make an immediate fantasy impact. Even if they struggle a little bit as passers year one, they should be able to provide you a high floor with what they can do on the ground. All right, but Trey Lance, Zach Wilson going off 105, 106. Completely fine with those picks as well. I mean, I think that Trey Lance over Zach Wilson is not something that you're going to be seeing in the majority of your mock drafts, but I understand it. I like it because Trey Lance has that elite rushing capability. So even if Zach Wilson ends up being the better real-life NFL quarterback, we understand that we're not drafting a team for real life here. We are not caring about players like Mac Jones. What we are caring about is pure upside. And that's what Trey Lance has in fantasy, because those rushing quarterbacks are a literal cheat code. But let me go through real quick, zoom this out so we can see the entire draft board so I don't have to be scrolling all night long. Okay, perfect. Okay, so just one more. Let me know if that's too far zoomed out. Let me know if y'all can still see everything. I can zoom it back in if need be. Let me go through, check the general chat at the same time, see if we have any questions. Okay. And no more questions. We have 43 people watching and 23 likes right now, so over half of y'all have decided to drop a like on the live stream. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it, guys. But anyway, I want to also point out that Javonte Williams went ahead of Devontae Smith here. And right now, before we have the landing spot for Javonte Williams, I can't agree with this. I mean, Javonte Williams has it in his range of outcomes to be a second-round NFL draft pick. And if that happens, and if you look at his historical comparisons for someone of his size, for someone who saw the workload that he had in college, and then had that NFL draft capital, then that's a running back that I'm fine taking over Devontae Smith. I am fine if you are 100% sure that he is getting locked in to the top 60 picks in the NFL draft. But afterwards, if he falls outside that range, then you have to really be concerned with the historical hit rates of Javonte Williams compared to a Devontae Smith who had that insane senior season with a ton of volume. And we know that 2019, he outproduced Henry Ruggs, Jalen Waddle, and Jerry Jeudy, all of whom were going to be top 15 NFL draft picks. So I think the hit rate on a Devontae Smith is going to be significantly higher than a Javonte Williams if we have to make that bet before the NFL draft. Now, like I said, if Javonte ends up getting that second round NFL draft capital, then I'm fine with it. But until we see that, I want to be going with Devontae. Okay, so we have Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jalen Waddle going off the board here at the 201 and the 202. Jalen Waddle is going to be one of the most polarizing players in this rookie draft, just like Henry Ruggs. I know it's extremely boring to just say that about some wide receivers that are pure field stretchers, some guys that are both coming from Alabama, but at the end of the day, with Jalen Waddle, we have seen time and time again those wide receivers that profile to be that deep threat, that guy that's just going to stretch the field for everybody else to operate underneath. You don't necessarily love them in the NFL because they're not going to be soaking up a ton of volume. But anyway, we are up on the clock here with the 204, and I think that based on all the research that we have done leading into our rookie rankings that will be on Patreon this weekend, I think what we are going to be doing here is we are going to be looking at either Tylan Wallace or Terrace Marshall. I know that previously, I was drafting the running backs in this range, and I have to say that was a massive mistake by myself, and I'm very sorry if anybody went out and listened to me, and if they had their rookie drafts already, and they ended up drafting someone, just say like Michael Carter over a Terrace Marshall, because of what I said at the very beginning of this offseason. I am sorry, I was wrong. What we need to understand is we need to understand that these running backs outside of Najee Harris, outside of Travis Etienne, they have holes all over their profiles. Whereas a wide receiver like Terrace Marshall, I mean, he has an elite athletic profile. He is a monster if you look at his size. And what he was able to do his last year at LSU puts him in a nice range where he's probably going to get that late round 1, early round 2 NFL draft capital. And if you look at the teams picking in that range, I mean, he could find himself in some very nice landing spots. All right, so now let's go through, and Tylan Wallace at the 205 here. Like I said, this is a wide receiver that I would have considered at the 204. I think that when you see my rookie rankings, there's a chance Tylan Wallace ends up ahead of Terrace Marshall. That's something that I may be going back and forth with all offseason, because Tylan Wallace also another wide receiver that we really like. And if he would have came out after his junior year, if he would have not seen that serious injury, I think Tylan Wallace would be loved a lot more in the Dynasty community. But the problem is he had the injury. He had to stay for his 4th season. And we know 2020 was just completely wild. So I think that hurt Tylan Wallace's draft stock a little bit more than it should have. All right. And so I will also say real quick that Mac Jones going off the board here at the 207. This is a pick that is very interesting, because I've seen Mac Jones go a lot higher than this. I've seen him sneak into late round 1, where in that range, I hate it, because I don't care if Mac Jones is picked, just say top 25 of the NFL draft, say he goes mid to late round 1. A, if you look at the historical hit rates of quarterbacks in that range, they're pretty low, and B, what we are always looking for with quarterbacks in Dynasty, with quarterbacks in redraft even, you need the rushing upside. And Mac Jones possesses none of it. And I got a comment recently on one of the recent YouTube videos, and someone was saying, Mason, stop hating on Mac Jones. You're going to feel so bad if he turns into Kirk Cousins. And I'm sitting here going, that's the bar? I mean, that's his ceiling, is Kirk Cousins. His ceiling is a mid quarterback 2 in fantasy. I mean, I cannot be drafting a player when their ceiling is going to be that mid quarterback 2 at the end of the first round. Now, if we're talking about at the 207, there, I think you have an argument to be made. There, I think you can look at Mac Jones and you can go, okay, that is a realistic price that I will pay for someone who has that mid quarterback 2 ceiling, just because even if he ends up being a above average NFL starting quarterback, that does not mean he's going to be an above average fantasy quarterback, with the fact that even a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence, who could easily go out there and average 25 to 35 rushing yards a game over the course of the season, that's an extra 3.5 points per game on top of whatever he's providing as a passer. So that's going to be putting a quarterback like Mac Jones, who can't have that, in a tremendous hole. And then you go on the other side of the spectrum where you have a Trey Lance who could quite easily average 50, 60 rushing yards a game. And then you go, okay, if Trey Lance is up there at 50, 60 rushing yards a game, Mac Jones is going to have to be throwing for an extra passing touchdown, and on top of that, some more yards. So that is why you're looking at a quarterback like Mac Jones, and unless he can turn into a Drew Brees, unless he can turn into a Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, really the upside just is not there. Okay, so now let's go through and check the general chat, see if we have anybody coming out here with any critiques for us. Okay, so Joe Johnson saying, you should let us know of the people left after the draft who you would like. Okay, that's a good idea. Maybe we'll do that later on in the stream. I'm going to try to get as many of these mock drafts in as possible, as fast as possible right now. Okay, Vinny coming out says, last night I traded Raheem Mostert, the 201, and the Ravens defense for the 2021 109 because I'm in dire need of a quarterback. I also own the 102 and the 104. If you're playing in a Superflex league, I love that trade. I mean, going and getting the 109, in my opinion, is a no-brainer. I've talked about this before, because sometimes you're going to see a Javonte Williams sneak up and it's going to push a Devontae Smith down to you. So if we go through and if we look at what you traded in, just first, let me make my pick here. We are going to be taking Brown. I know that we were talking about taking running backs in the 3rd round earlier this offseason. Like I said, I was wrong. I'm going to dive into it more with my rookie rankings on Patreon this weekend, as well as a video that is recently coming out. But anyway, let's go back to this trade where you traded the Ravens defense, the 201, and Raheem Mostert for the 109 because you desperately needed a QB. So I'll say, A, you're probably not going to be getting a quarterback in this range. But even so, I don't hate this trade, because you're going, Mason, I traded Raheem Mostert, someone who has absolutely no dynasty value in the slightest, as well as just a Jalen Waddle for Devontae Smith. Now, I know that looking at that small bump up with just, say, 4 picks doesn't seem like a ton, but in reality, with how that tier drops off after Kyle Pitts here, I mean, that is massive. And I understand some people want to come out here and say that a Rashad Bateman or a Jalen Waddle or a Rondale Moore are in that same tier as a Devontae Smith. But what I'm simply saying is that those people claiming that are wrong. And it's that simple. Now, I will have a video diving into depth with Devontae Smith. I want to make sure we're going to wait for his pro day, because the one valid concern that I have with Devontae Smith is going to be his weight measurement and what his BMI comes out to. Because you look at him, it just on tape, and you go, okay, I mean, he looks a little slender. This may be a problem, but we know a couple things here. A, wide receivers are way more protected in today's NFL than they were 10 years ago. So we go, okay, maybe the historical hit rates on those BMI with wide receivers aren't necessarily as predictive today as they would have been if we're using data that came from 10 years ago. And B, at the same time, I mean, the concerns with Devontae Smith staying 4 years at Alabama, I mean, really, they are so overblown. Because I completely understand there is a strong correlation, and we have been talking about this for years. People are just now catching up that those players that came out after their true junior season, generally, those are the guys that you want to be going after in rookie drafts, because there's a strong correlation between NFL success, dynasty fantasy football success, and coming out with that younger breakout age. But at the same time, you have to understand that there are some instances where really that doesn't add up. There are some instances where you have to go out there and you have to look at the context behind the situation. And with DeVonta Smith, we know that he was playing with 3 other top 15 NFL drafted wide receivers in the span of 2 years. Now, that hasn't, I want to say it's never happened before. I can't say for certain because I haven't done the research on it, but if you go through and just think of recent classes, I can't think of anything close to that happening before, where Alabama, when DeVonta Smith was playing there in 2019, when he was eligible to come out, had Jalen Waddle, Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy. Now, Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy already both went top 15 in the NFL draft in 2019. Jalen Waddle, I would be extremely surprised if he himself fell off the top 15. So the fact that DeVonta Smith was able to outproduce those 3 top 15 wide receiver drafted, I think that we go, okay. Him waiting all 4 years, that's not going to be a major problem when we know that there was a good reason behind it. All right, so real quick, guys, if y'all want to take a screenshot of this mock draft, whatever you want to do, let me switch over real quick. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be running over to Patreon, getting everybody who DM'd me a new link to a new mock draft. And then our next mock draft, our third mock draft that we are going to do on the live stream, will be with everybody in the general chat. So if you want to participate in one of these, just stick around in the general chat. But I need to make sure we are prioritizing the people that are going out there and supporting the channel on Patreon. So let me go through, and actually I myself will take a screenshot of this just in case deleting the draft board ruins it for Jake while we are collecting this ADP. Okay, so this next one is also going to be a super flex mock draft. I'll say that right away. We picked at the 104 here. This time, let's jump up. I don't care that we are going to be taking the 9 spots. We are going to be taking the 102. And let me grab the link to go over to Patreon real quick to send it. Okay, so let me see who is waiting. Okay, I'm going to be sending this link to everybody that had DM'd me prior once again. And also, JN, thank you so much for the donation, my man. Just saw that. I truly appreciate it. Okay, so sending this out to everybody on Patreon. Let me wait a second for them to hop in as we answer some questions in the general chat, and then I can go through and I can make sure that we are getting some people in from the general chat at the same time. Okay, so let me also send this to Jake so he can track this ADP. Like I said, guys, this ADP is going to be available on Patreon as well, but it's not going to be behind a paywall. This ADP is going to be free for everybody. My rookie rankings, that will be behind the paywall. But the ADP, since y'all are the ones helping contribute to it, I'm going to make that free. And I also know that the ADP is probably more useful than my rankings regardless. Okay, so Garrett coming in says, yeah, I like Chuba Hubbard too. I really love the Sermon pick as well. I think he could do some damage in the NFL. Kind of reminds me of Chris Carson. Sermon, the problem is he's going to go on day 3. He stayed all 4 years in college. I know you can go, but Mason, he transferred, cut him some slack. At the same time, I mean, what are we talking about here? Okay, Evan coming out says, it's tough drafting running back in box right now. Draft capital will have such a big impact. Carter, Sermon, Jefferson, Gainwell, 1 or more will be drafted in the 2 to 3 rounds, and they'll move up a lot. Here, I'll say, I don't know about that. I'll say that Gainwell, maybe you could make the argument, would go in round 3. Outside of that, I can't see Sermon, Jefferson, Carter. I can't see any of them going in round 3. Even with the hype that you have around Carter right now, what I think is going to happen is I just think that Sam Howell is going to end up getting both Javonte Williams and Michael Carter overdrafted in this year's NFL draft. All right. So let's go through and let me get the link for a few more people on Patreon real quick. Sending this out right now. Okay, Garrett got you the link. Okay, let's go through and let me wait 5 seconds for those people to join, and then we'll be getting this second one going out. Let me remind everyone here, guys. This next one is going to be a super flex rookie mock draft. We can also call it tight end premium at the same time. That way we have a little bit of a more strategy going into it. And then our last one we can do will be a 1 quarterback mock draft, just because I need to do a better job for everybody playing in those 1 quarterback leagues, getting you some data. All right, but let me go through and see if we have any more DMs that we are going to be waiting on. Okay, it looks like we should be good there. Let me see if we have any questions in the general chat. Then I will get that last link out because I think we have one more spot. Okay, so let's see. Tit coming in says 10 team Superflex, 0.5 PPR, Diggs or DJ Moore plus a 2022 first. Easily DJ Moore, no question about it. And y'all know I have Stephon Diggs actually ranked as my #2 wide receiver for 2021, but that's in redraft leagues, not in dynasty leagues. DJ Moore is going into his 4th season, still only 24 years old, and he's the only wide receiver in the NFL over the past 2 years to have over 1,200 yards from scrimmage. Now I know you can go Mason, the quarterback situation sucks in Carolina, and my argument for that would be, hey, DJ Moore has given you this production every single year with some horrendous quarterback play, and it can really only get better. I mean, this team is aggressively restructuring some contracts, aggressively cutting some contracts off the books. That way they have more space, and I think what that tells us is they're probably trying to make a move at the quarterback position. I don't know what they are going after. Obviously, it's fun to say they could be going after Deshaun Watson, but we aren't certain on that. Okay, so Eric got you that DM real quick with the mock draft. Okay, so let's let Eric join, and then I think we'll have one more spot, and I'll send that out in the general chat for someone else to slide in, unless we get another DM on Patreon. But like I said, the last mock draft we are going to be doing will be for everybody just in the general chat. I'm not going to be sending it out on Patreon. That way, everybody who's been here the entire time supporting, I can get y'all some action. Okay, so Garrett is saying DJ Moore is most likely getting Lance by now if you haven't. Okay, I'll say a couple things here. A, I love Trey Lance in Dynasty, and I am going to be drafting him everywhere. But just like how we were drafting Jalen Hurts everywhere in Dynasty Superflex leagues last offseason, I still don't love the idea of DJ Moore getting Trey Lance. I think that the majority of the value coming from Trey Lance will actually be his rushing capability. I think the overall passing volume may be a little bit too low if you're going to be expecting that massive boom from DJ Moore. I think a much better scenario for DJ Moore is possibly them making a move to go get Justin Fields. I would be a little bit more excited about that. Or possibly they just go out there and try to get a free agent quarterback. Okay. Ian saying, what rookie RBs do you have ranked at 4 and 5? That will be on Patreon this weekend, my man. But a little bit of a spoiler. I'm probably not going to be drafting them at all because they're going to be behind a ton of wide receivers. Okay, so now let's send this out to Kevin. Okay, so I think we should be good. I'm going to send, actually, Kevin wants in the mock draft. Okay, so this one's going to be Patreon only, and then the next mock draft we are going to be doing will be general chat only, where I'm not going to send it out to anybody on Patreon. We are just going to get that going in the general chat. Okay, but let's switch this over. Let's pull up the draft board, waiting for Kevin to hop in here. If he doesn't hop in 30 seconds, then I'll send it out in the general chat just to get this filled, and we will get going. But like I said, I just have to make sure that everybody on Patreon that wants to get in the mock draft has a chance, because I mean, it's my responsibility, to be completely honest. All right, let me see if we have any other questions in the general chat before we get this second Superflex one started. Okay, Jonah's saying, hey Mason, can you rank Waddle, Bateman, and Moore? Here, I would go Moore, Bateman, Waddle. All right, Kevin is in. Let's go. Let's get this draft going. Okay, so Richie Rich is on the clock here with the 101. We are going to be up with the 102. Okay, Trevor Lawrence off the board with the 101. Here we're going to be going with Najee Harris at the 102. And I will say that Najee Harris, whenever we release our rookie rankings on Patreon, is going to be the running back 1 overall. But it's going to be one of those scenarios where I can see that changing once we get Alabama's pro day. If Najee Harris comes out and he runs a 4.55, a 4.58, he's anywhere in that range, then I'm going to go, you know what? This guy's a better version of David Montgomery. And I hate to say it because I know Najee Harris is so fun to watch, and I know that he is going to be, at the very minimum, a running back 2 in fantasy. But then I think we go, okay, Travis Etienne, while he may be a little bit undersized, he has the receiving game capability. He's a track star. He could be DeAndre Swift. And in that case, I think we'd be moving Travis Etienne over Najee Harris. But until Najee Harris disappoints us in the 40 time, we cannot make that decision. Okay, also, I'll say Jamar Chase going here at the 103. Really don't like this pick. I know that there's so much hype centered around Jamar Chase, but I cannot get behind it. I see that a ton of people are saying that we have it listed as a snake draft. Let me go through and I will fix it to a linear. Perfect, perfect, perfect. There we go, guys. Should be fixed. Okay, now Joe coming out says, how do you feel about trading Keenan Allen for the 108, 208? If not, what would you add? Okay, here, if it's a one quarterback league, there's no way in hell I'm trading Keenan Allen for the 108 and the 208. But if it's a SUPERFLEX format, then I think we go, okay, yeah, let's roll. Let's get the 108 and the 208 for Keenan Allen. Give me Devontae Smith. Give me Elijah Moore in the second, and let's go. Devontae Smith here falling to the 111. Like I said, the disrespect is absurd with Devontae Smith. I promise you, I'll be drafting him every single time if he's falling in that range. It's kind of nice, too, because in all those Flock Patreon leagues, I finished around that 112, 111, 110 range. I think the highest rookie pick that we have across all 10 leagues is the 106. So obviously you'd be a little bit worried about not getting anybody in this range. But if Devontae Smith is falling there, I mean, I would be ecstatic about that. But here we are going to end up having to go with Jalen Waddle. And like I said, Waddle is going to be landing spot dependent. I know that most mock drafts right now have him going to the New York Giants, and we would not like that scenario. I wouldn't like it in the slightest because Point God Tia Kappa, the guy who makes all our thumbnails, someone who's been a supporter on Patreon for over a year now, I mean, for a very, very long time. I mean, he pointed something out to me that I think is extremely valid and something that I think we need to be learning our lesson with when we were investing into Henry Ruggs last offseason. And that's these field stretching wide receivers, while yes, they get the NFL draft capital because they're going to create so much space for the other players on their team. Really, they are never going to get the volume. The only thing you can rely on if you want to see those wide receivers boom in fantasy consistently is going to be elite efficiency. And if you want to have that elite efficiency, what you need is elite quarterback play. Think of Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes. I know Tyreek Hill would also be successful on many other NFL teams. But, I mean, outside of that, please, please, please spam the chat right now. Go let me know what field stretching burner wide receiver has been a consistent impact in fantasy over the past 2 to 3 seasons without an elite quarterback. Now, I think you could make the argument Terry McLaurin had an elite 40-time Terry McLaurin profile to be that field stretcher coming into the NFL, and that would be a completely fair argument. But then you look at how Washington decides to use Terry McLaurin and the type of routes he's running, and he's not really operating as that field stretcher, even though he profiled that way coming into the NFL. So I'll say that, I mean, I can't think of literally anybody. Please let me know in the general chat if you know any field stretching wide receiver that is not playing with an elite quarterback that has been able to be a consistent impact for you in fantasy, because I am blanking. Okay, so in the general chat right now, Caleb is asking single quarterback league, Damian Harris, the 201, the 204 for Amari Cooper. Here, easily, Amari Cooper. And you're going to see this a lot better whenever we do our one quarterback mock draft. But let's go through and let's look at how a one quarterback league is going to be at the 201. Okay, so obviously at the 201 here, you're taking Amon-Ra St. Brown, you're taking Jalen Waddle, you're getting players in this range. But in a one quarterback draft, really? Yes, I think you could see Trevor Lawrence going in the first round. I don't think that should happen, but it probably will in most leagues. So what you're going to end up seeing is you're going to see one quarterback here, but these 3 guys are going to be pushed back to the mid-second to the late second. So you're going to have 3 spots up from that 201. I'm sorry, 3 spots back. So you're going to go from Amon-Ra St. Brown to Jalen Waddle to Tylan Wallace to Brevin Jordan. Mac Jones is going to be there. So you're going to be looking at a pretty much Terrace Marshall and then most likely Kenneth Gainwell. So you're asking yourself, would you rather have Damian Harris, Terrace Marshall, Kenneth Gainwell, or Amari Cooper? And the answer there is Amari Cooper 10 times out of 10. And the answer to this draft pick here at the 302 is going to be Chuba Hubbard. And I know I've been talking about lately not necessarily wanting to invest into the running backs in this 3rd round range, but Chuba Hubbard is a completely different monster. Chuba Hubbard was actually top 5 in Heisman odds coming into the year. And obviously he had the stuff going on with his coach, with the Black Lives Matter, everything. Not going to put my opinion into it because it doesn't mean anything, but all that matters is Chuba Hubbard had a very disappointing final year at Oklahoma State, and I think we could say that most likely the off-the-field concerns kind of played into that with his dynamic with the coaching staff. So Chuba Hubbard, it's going to depend where he ends up going in the NFL draft if he gets his opportunity, because if he ends up getting that opportunity, I think that he could be a fantastic player. I probably should search it on Twitter right now. I sent out a tweet last offseason saying, hey, if Chuba Hubbard came out in the 2020 running back class, where would y'all have him ranked? And a ton of people were coming out going, running back one, running back one, running back one, over and over and over again. And it's been a hell of a fall in one single season. So Chuba Hubbard, a player that I think made a very, very poor decision in not coming out last year and waiting a season, cost himself a ton of money. But if you're going to be able to get him in the 3rd round, I think that's the one running back that we could invest into going, you know what, he probably has the upside. Okay, so Terrence coming in says, Amari is a bum. Don't listen to that. Okay, Terrence, let me ask you, were you playing Dynasty in 2015? Because if you were playing Dynasty in 2015, you understand that Amari Cooper is the furthest thing from a bum ever. If you understand how prospect evaluation works, you know that the guys that you're going to be looking at, like Terrace Marshall, someone like a Kenneth Gainwell, they aren't going to be anything close to the prospect that Amari Cooper was coming in. Amari Cooper was a top 5 pick by the at the time, Oakland Raiders, and I know that doesn't mean too much now because he's in year 6 of his NFL career, but you look at the past 4 years, and Amari Cooper has consistently been a top 15 wide receiver in fantasy, and at the same time, Amari Cooper is, 26 years old, I want to say? So, no, Amari Cooper is a stud. Amari Cooper is a stable asset. He's playing with an elite quarterback. No, keep Amari Cooper in Dynasty. Okay. So let me see if we have any picks that we should talk about here. Dynasty Brown, this is another guy that I just want to point out the fact that what are we seeing a lot in this rookie class? We are seeing North Carolina. Oh, where are some other North Carolina players? We got Javonte Williams up here, North Carolina. And then we go down here, and then where is his little buddy in Michael Carter, North Carolina? And why am I pointing this out? I think what we are going to end up seeing with some of these players, Dynasty Brown, I actually really like the price here at the 304, is I think that people don't really understand how impactful Sam Howell is right now for UNC, how great of a quarterback he is. He is the clear 101 in the NFL draft next season. So I think what we are going to end up seeing is him going to be pushing up these other players like a Javonte Williams, like a Michael Carter, a little bit too high than where they would have gone if they would have just been playing with an average quarterback. Okay, so JN says, how many drafts are you doing this afternoon? I'll probably do one more, my man. I think we're just going to do this one with the people in the general chat. Let me grab a screenshot of this. I will say that we have 84 people watching the stream right now and 48 people have dropped a like. So that means over half the people watching the stream have dropped a like. So thank you all so much, guys. That means an absolute ton. I'm going to continue to try to live stream as much as I can. I'm going to end up going to Florida to see my family next week. So probably not going to be able to do it there because I'm not going to be able to be working in my regular office with a good computer. I'm going to be having to take my laptop and barely being able to get videos up, and it's going to be a pain in the butt. So we'll probably not live stream then. But outside of that, every single week that I am in Texas, I should be live streaming. Just whenever I go to Florida, it's going to be a little bit harder for me. All right, so let me set up this next mock draft right now, and then I'll get this link out in the general chat. Let me know if y'all have any questions right now. And I will remind everyone that all of this ADP is going to be available for free on Patreon. Completely free. I'm not going to put it behind a paywall. I just don't really know where else to put it. We don't have a website, but we have a Patreon, and a ton of people are already on there on Patreon, DMing with myself every single day. So it's easy. If y'all are already over there, already supporting the channel, I can put up the ADP there for completely free, and we can edit it throughout the course of the off season. So yeah, I think that's what we are going to be looking to do. I'm going to be taking the, let's take the 108. Let's go a little bit later. Okay, Matthew saying Amari Cooper was one of the best wide receiver prospects this decade. Yes, Amari Cooper easily was one of the best wide receiver prospects this decade. That's why we have Amari Cooper's rookie jersey behind us, as well as Guys, the best. I don't know how long y'all have been playing Dynasty Fantasy Football, but regardless of if you watch film, regardless of if you're into analytics, by far and away, the best wide receiver prospect of this decade was our man, Sammy Watkins, for the Buffalo Bills. I know it didn't work out. I understand that. I know that he seemed to be just a can't-miss prospect that ended up missing, which obviously sucks, but if you were playing Dynasty in 2014, you truly understand that Sammy Watkins was the best prospect that we maybe have ever seen in Dynasty at the wide receiver position. I don't want to say ever, but over the past decade, for sure. Okay, let's go through. Daniel saying, Mason, I have the 102 in a Superflex league. Would it be crazy to take Najee over quarterback? No, I just did it in the previous mock draft. I'll say if you're playing in a 14 or a 16-team Superflex league, then you need to be going QB. But no, if it's a 12-team QB league, you can end up going with Najee over the quarterbacks. Okay, but I just sent out that link for anybody wanting to join from the general chat. And guys, this right now is going to be a 1 quarterback, okay? This is a 1 quarterback mock draft. So let's go change this setting real quick to standard. Perfect. Okay, let me send in the chat right now. This is a 1 QB. Okay, so we sent that in the chat. Let me change let me see if I can change the title of this. And let me know in the general chat as well if y'all want me doing 1 quarterback or if I'm allowed to just stick it to Superflex, because I definitely prefer Superflex. But, I mean, if y'all don't, I understand, and we will be going through and getting y'all some, I don't want to say a lot, but we will be getting y'all some 1 QB mock drafts. Okay, so we did everything we could. We made the announcement. We sent it out in the general chat for the mock draft, and we changed the title to this is a 1 QB mock draft. So hopefully people listen. Everybody cross your fingers. Hopefully we don't get Trevor Lawrence going off the board here at the 101. But let's see. Okay, Victor on the clock with the 101. Come on, Victor. Don't kill us here. Don't kill us. Okay, so let's go through and Benny saying, I like Amari, but he's nearing the ADP apex and a bad season will plummet his value. No, I don't agree with that. I agree that he is nearing his apex in ADP and he's not going to be able to go up much higher. But with Amari Cooper, you have yet to have 1 bad season. And generally what you see from those elite players, if you play over a long period of time, is you have to have multiple bad years in a row once you have that long stretch of solid sample. I mean, just think of Juju Smith-Schuster after having his down year in 2019. You didn't see a far drop-off in ADP at all. You still had suckers like myself willing to buy into him, willing to buy the bounce back. You would see the same thing with Amari Cooper, I promise you that. And there's no reason to expect a down year from Amari Cooper. I promise you. If you're going to be looking at Amari Cooper versus Terrace Marshall and Kenneth Gainwell, I mean, I can't tell you how much of a better bet that Amari Cooper truly is. Okay, so here, what a 1 quarterback league looks like so far. Keep in mind, I mean, this is getting gross very quickly, and we are kind of going to be forced to do something that I don't think we are going to be doing much in rookie drafts this year. We are going to be taking Kyle Pitts here at the 108, just because I mean, this is a 1 quarterback league, so generally at the 108, I know a lot of other people would be looking to take Kyle Pitts, but in that range, I would usually prefer Devontae Smith. I'd usually prefer Jamar Chase, but we didn't get that option here. Kyle Pitts is going to be our man at the 108, and I know Kyle Pitts, a historic tight end prospect. I understand that he is probably the best tight end prospect that we have seen in the past decade. But at the same time, you understand how the tight end position works. You understand that these guys have to learn how to be a wide receiver and a blocker at the same time, and if you look historically, the only tight ends that were drafted in the first round of rookie drafts that increased their value after year 1, you had Evan Ingram, and that ended up plummeting. And outside of that, I really can't think of anybody over the past decade. I know we did that study, so obviously if you want to hear more about that, go and look at the Kyle Pitts video. Okay, so let's go through, and oh crap, this is a snake. Let me pause this draft real quick and let me fix it. Okay, perfect. Let's go change this draft settings to linear. Okay, good. We are good to go. I'm sorry about that. I don't know why Sleeper resets it every single time. And at the 208, I mean, this is going to be a little bit gross, especially in a one quarterback league. Like I talk about all the time, this is why that if you were asking me a trade question over on Patreon, you have to be including, is this Superflex? Is this one quarterback? Even if there's not a quarterback in the trade, if you involve a rookie pick, the evaluation of that rookie pick is going to be drastically different in those one quarterback leagues versus those Superflex leagues. Because right now at the 201, I mean, you're looking at best player available being Elijah Moore, where generally in those Superflex formats, you'd be seeing him at the 206, 207, 208 range, because you would have about 4 quarterbacks going between. All right. But anyway, I really like this draft so far. I don't necessarily see anything that stands out as a very bad pick in my opinion. I guess we could go Kenneth Gainwell at the 111. I really don't like that, taking him over a Terrace Marshall, over an Elijah Moore, or even Amon-Ra St. Brown. But outside of that, I don't have too many complaints. We have our eyes on about 3 guys here, so I think we should be good with one falling to us. And also, we just passed 100 viewers and have over 50 likes. Thank y'all so much for the support, guys. Like I said, I'm going to continue to try to get these mock drafts going for everybody who is subscribed to the channel and has their notifications hit. And I'm going to continue to try to do that every single week so we can get as many people in these mock drafts as possible. And here, this is some one quarterback strategy that I want to dive into. And I know that I literally have never heard anybody else say this, and I know that we've had a ton of people argue with me on this point, but in a Superflex league, I am completely fine taking Zach Wilson over Trey Lance. I think that could even be the correct pick if you end up seeing Zach Wilson get that top 3 NFL draft capital. But in a one quarterback league, the quarterback position is completely different. You are not playing for their floor at all. You don't care about their floor because worst case scenario, you throw a 3rd round pick and you go get a Kirk Cousins and it doesn't matter. Superflex league, yes, that's different. Superflex league, it's going to cost a lot more for a starting quarterback. So you need to make sure the guy you're drafting is going to be a guaranteed starter over the next 3 to 4 years. But in the case of a one quarterback league, this is where Jalen Hurts, this is where Trey Lance, these quarterbacks that maybe will have a higher injury rate due to their style of play, maybe won't necessarily have the NFL longevity. That's where they are more valuable because you don't care if they completely fall off. If they completely fall off, it doesn't affect you. You can fill it in. But what you want is when they hit their 90th percentile outcome, you want to make sure that that's going to be a league-winning player. And when you get that quarterback that has the elite rushing upside, that's exactly what you have. So I'll say in a one quarterback league, I do not like the Zach Wilson pick. In a Superflex league, I'm fine with it. This is just understanding your format. This is understanding how to maximize the value and the range of outcomes with what you're playing in. But anyway, we are down here in the 3rd round now, and you can tell this is getting a little bit gross just because, like I said, I mean, these one quarterback leagues are not going to be anything close to what you have available to you in a Superflex league. But anyway, there are still some names available that are interesting. Let me check the general chat real quick and see if there was any questions that we missed out on. Okay, so let's go through just some Amari Cooper arguments. Garrett saying Amari is so slept on. Amari could wake up and drop 1,000 yards easily. Yeah, I think Amari Cooper is quite possibly one of the most disrespected wide receivers in Dynasty. And why I think that probably is because people are tired of talking about him. I mean, ever since 2015, if y'all played Dynasty back in 2015, you literally listened to any podcast. That's back when Michael Crabtree was also on the Raiders. And they were kind of 1A, 1B, and you were seeing both wide receivers kind of have similar target shares and similar projections. But Amari Cooper was worth a first-round Dynasty startup pick. So every single podcast since 2015 for 2 years was just talking about, what do you think of Amari Cooper? You would bring on a guest, and the first question is, hey, what do you think of Amari Cooper? Because Amari Cooper had his haters, guys that would never draft him. And he had the guys like myself who loved Amari Cooper and said, hey man, just give him a chance. This is an elite player. You look, he's getting open every single route. But because of all that stuff happening, I mean, you have just consistently seen that Amari Cooper has been the buzz. Amari Cooper has been in the discussion. So he seems like old news. He seems like he's an extremely old player. Like y'all were saying earlier, y'all think that if he has one bad season because of his age, he's going to fall off in value. No, Amari Cooper, let's look this up just to make sure that we are not wrong. But I believe Amari Cooper is only 26 years old. He came into the NFL at 21. He was in that 2015 draft class. Maybe he's 27. Let's see. No, Amari Cooper, 26 years old. He's still going into his prime. He's not in his prime yet. I know we've been talking about him forever, but that's just because he came in as an elite prospect. He came in as a difference maker right away at 20 years old. What, like, God, what are y'all expecting, guys? I mean, 5 years from now, y'all are going to be like, oh, Justin Jefferson. Old news. Justin Jefferson. What do I want with Justin Jefferson? One bad season, he's out of here. Okay. But let me go through and let me see if we have any last-minute general chat questions. What I will say is we are probably done with the mock drafts now. Thank you, everybody who has decided to come out, everybody who decided to participate in a mock draft. And I want to remind everyone that on Patreon, you are going to have this free ADP available to you. We already have startup ADP available to you. I can't tell you when the rookie ADP is, but my rookie rankings will be available this weekend on Patreon. That link is at the top if you would like to support the show. Let me take a screenshot of this mock draft. And yeah, I'm going to continue to do these rookie mocks and to continue to get people from Patreon, people from the general chat in here. So if you want to guarantee yourself in a mock draft, best thing you can do is support the show on Patreon. If you want to have a shot at the mock draft, best thing you can do is subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Okay, so let's go through and okay, so Terrace is asking, what do you actually think you're getting for Amari in terms of relation to draft picks? His best case scenario in a year or two is a late first. No, this is Terrence. Terrence, please let me know how long you've been playing Dynasty. Let me know that, because if you're talking about, hey, in 2 years after Amari Cooper has given you back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, you may only get a late first. Hey, in 2 years, Amari Cooper's going to be 28 years old. Julio Jones right now is 32. You have another 6 years of Amari Cooper production. Like, what are you talking about? We're not seeing the fall off come anytime soon. Okay, so let's go through and Zed is saying Cooper will be traded or cut next season. That's a fact after Dak's new contract. Maybe you can look at the fact that Michael Gallup is coming to the end of his own rookie contract, and the Cowboys are going to have to choose between Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup, and that is true, but we don't know what that decision is right now. Okay, Chad is saying Keenan Allen attached to Justin Herbert should be higher. Okay, so I think that we are good here. I think that we are good answering questions. Now, thank you so much, guys. We ended up with 60 likes on the live stream. That means a ton. And like I always say, if y'all enjoyed the stream, go down there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. More importantly, though, if you want your questions answered going forward, hit that notification bell next to the subscribe button. That way you can come out during our video premieres where I'll be hanging out in the live chat and I can be answering your questions. And if you want an in-depth write-up of your Dynasty team, make sure you head over to Patreon, and at the same time, on Patreon, you will be finding my rookie rankings this weekend. Now, thanks, guys. That's all I got for y'all, and have a great day.